Hey everyone, I'm Mike. I work in investment banking. My job is defined by risk, stress, and managing numbers that are too big to feel real. For a long time, I bought into the lie that quality of life is determined solely by the number in your bank account. I was wrong. True wealth is control. Control over your time, health, and head. Today I will show you 8 purchases, from simple things for a couple of dollars to mental attitudes, that have turned my reality 180 degrees, made me richer and happier. Let's start. The first item on my list is the cheapest investment with the highest return. It costs about $5. Its value? Sanity. I'm talking about a physical journal. I know what you're thinking. A diary. Really? Mike, you manage assets, you wear a 3000 suit, and you sit there by candlelight writing, "Dear Diary, I'm sad today"? Let's kill that stereotype right now. Look at history's greatest strategists, from Winston Churchill to John D. Rockefeller. They all kept records. But the best example is Marcus Aurelius, the Emperor of Rome, the most powerful man on earth. He didn't have a therapist. He didn't have a Twitter account to vent on. He had a scroll. His famous book, Meditations, wasn't written for us. It was his personal journal, written to keep himself from going insane under the pressure of the empire. In my profession, the brain acts like an overclocked CPU. Thousands of variables, interest rates, breaking news, client calls. By the end of the day, I have 300 tabs open in my head, and the cooling fan is spinning so loud I can't sleep. We call this mental noise. For me, a journal isn't a place for whining. It's an audit tool. It is an external hard drive. Here's how it works. When an anxious thought spins in your head, it feels massive. It's shapeless. It takes up all the space. I'm going to tank this deal. I'm not prepared. What if the market crashes? These thoughts ricochet inside your skull, gaining velocity. But magic happens when you pick up a pen, a cheap ballpoint pen, and you transfer that thought onto paper. In that moment, you turn abstract fear into concrete text. You see its borders. You see the sentence end with a period. And suddenly, the monster under the bed is just a pile of dirty laundry. I use a method I call the evening audit. I sit down and dump the cash. I'm angry at client X because they are incompetent. I'm terrified of the Thursday presentation. Once it's written, my brain gets the signal. Data saved, safe to delete from RAM. And I'm asleep in 5 minutes. Plus, there's one more nuance, especially in the US right now. We live in an era of total digital surveillance. Your DMs are read by algorithms. Your search history is sold to advertisers. Paper is the only listener that will never interrupt you. It won't cancel you. And most importantly, it won't sell your secrets to a competitor. It is the only place left on earth where you can be 100% honest with yourself. And radical honesty is the foundation of all growth. The journal clears the debris. But once the site is clean, you need to build. You need to see the whole picture. And for that, a notebook isn't big enough. If the journal's my therapist, this next item is my general. It is my war room. And it is arguably the most underrated piece of furniture in history. A simple, large whiteboard. I know it's 2026. We have Notion, Asana, Google Calendar, and a dozen productivity apps. I use them all. But digital tools have a fatal flaw. They are hidden. To see your goals, you have to unlock your phone, open an app, find the tab. That creates friction. And let's be honest, the moment you pick up your phone, there's a 90% chance you'll end up scrolling TikTok instead of checking your to-do list. A whiteboard works differently. It's aggressive. It hangs on your wall and screams at you. You can't minimize it. You can't close the tab. It is always there, a silent reminder of the promises you made to yourself. You know those scenes in movies with detectives or financial masterminds? They always stand in front of a wall covered in photos, notes, and red string. Why do writers love that trope? Because it's real. Evolutionarily, our brains aren't wired to think in Excel spreadsheets. We are spatial creatures. We need to see scale. When I type a quarterly plan into a laptop, I see a cursor and a line of text. I don't see the battlefield. But when I stand up, and that's key, physically standing up, and walk over to a 6-foot wall to draw a schematic, my thinking shifts. I stop being an executor. I become an architect. I use the board for three things. First, grand strategy. The things that don't change for months, my annual revenue targets, my key metrics. I wake up, get coffee, and I stare at them. I go to sleep and I see them. It programs the subconscious. Second, problem solving. A problem inside your head is an infinite loop. A problem written on the wall is a target. You externalize the enemy. You can step back, cross your arms, and look at the situation from a distance, literally. And third, impermanence. Paper feels permanent. It feels like a contract. That creates pressure. A whiteboard forgives mistakes. Wrote something stupid? Wipe it off. It's gone. It lowers the barrier to entry for bad ideas, which is essential for brainstorming with yourself. My apartment stopped being just a place where I sleep and eat. By hanging that board, I turned it into a headquarters. But here's the catch. You can fill 100 whiteboards with genius plans. You can map out the perfect strategy. But the moment you cap the marker and step out into the real world, you hit the biggest enemy of any banker, entrepreneur, or human being. You simply don't have the time to execute it. If you try to do everything yourself, you will lose. We look at the board. The plans are ambitious. Launch a side hustle, learn Mandarin, read 50 books. But then Saturday comes, and instead of conquering the world, you grab a vacuum cleaner. The fourth item on my list isn't a thing. It's a concept, outsourcing, or simply put, buying other people's time. In American culture, we have this toxic obsession with the hustle, the Protestant work ethic. If you want it done right, do it yourself. We feel guilty for hiring help. We think if a healthy guy hires a cleaner, he's lazy or too good for manual labor. I'm a banker. I look at life through a P&L statement, and when I ran the numbers, I felt physically sick at how much money I was burning. Let's do some basic math. Let's say you make $100,000 a year. That breaks down to roughly $50 an hour. That is your base rate. If you are a freelancer or business owner, that number is likely higher because every hour you work generates future equity. Now, think about cleaning. Deep cleaning your apartment takes, say, 4 hours. If you do it yourself, you are spending $200 worth of your potential. And that's just the financial cost. You spend energy. You inhale dust. After cleaning, you're drained. You can't be creative. You just want to watch Netflix. The market rate for a professional cleaner is lower than your hourly rate. By hiring a pro, you are executing a classic arbitrage trade. You buy time cheap and you sell it to your employer or your business at a premium. You pocket the spread. When I realized this, I stopped touching chores. Meal prep, cleaning, laundry, outsourced. People say, "Mike, that's for rich people. I don't have the budget to pay someone to wash my dishes." I'll be harsh. You don't have the budget because you are washing your dishes. You are stuck in the operational maintenance of your life. While your hands are in soapy water, your brain isn't thinking about strategy. It's thinking about a grease stain. I remember the moment it clicked. I was at the laundromat sorting whites from colors. It took 40 minutes, and it hit me. In those 40 minutes, I could have read a report that would land me a $5,000 bonus. In that moment, I realized that doing my own laundry was the most expensive hobby I had. Outsourcing isn't laziness, it is the highest form of discipline. You admit that your time is finite, and you protect it at all costs. You clear the schedule for the things where you are irreplaceable: family, health, learning. So, we freed up time. We have plans on the board, a clean apartment, and open hours. But then biology kicks in. If you have free time but zero energy, if you have brain fog, that time is worthless. You need to put the right fuel in the car. We freed up the time. But time is an empty vessel. If you are exhausted, those 3 free hours turn into doom scrolling on the couch. Energy is the currency that matters. Item number 5 is fuel. But let's look broader. I'm talking about functional nutrition, meal replacements. We have a massive food culture: brunch, lunch meetings, dinner dates. We spend hours shopping, hours cooking, hours eating. And what's the ROI? Recall how you feel after a heavy corporate lunch: a burger, fries, maybe a soda. At 2 p.m., you sit back at your desk and your brain shuts down. It's the post-lunch crash. All your blood leaves your brain and goes to your stomach to digest that heavy biomass. For the next 2 hours, you aren't a banker. You aren't a creator. You are a snake digesting a goat. You are useless. I looked at this like an engineer. My body is a complex biological machine. It doesn't need flavor entertainment in the middle of a workday. It needs protein, fats, carbs, and micronutrients. It needs fuel. Imagine you need to gas up your car. You don't stop on the side of the highway, drill for oil, and refine it into gasoline on the hood of your Toyota, do you? You just insert the nozzle and fill the tank. Why do we treat our bodies differently? I switched to functional shakes during work hours. It's powder. It looks like concrete mix, tastes like vanilla oatmeal. Sounds terribly boring, right? But here's what I gained. First, I eliminated decision fatigue. I don't waste willpower thinking, what should I eat? Where should I order? Is this too unhealthy? I shake a bottle for 2 minutes. Problem solved. Second, stable biochemistry. 400 calories, perfect macro split, no sugar spikes, no insulin crash. My energy is a flat line on a monitor. From 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., I operate at the same RPM. It sounds dystopian, like something out of a cyberpunk movie where people eat nutrient paste. But for me, this is freedom. I stopped being a slave to my hunger. I saved the good food, the steaks, the wine, the dining out, for weekends and evenings when I can actually enjoy it. But during work, food is just code I upload to the system to keep it running. We optimize the software, the journal, streamline the processes, outsourcing, and fix the hardware, nutrition. Now it's time to install upgrades. We fueled the car. But even with a full tank, you won't win the Daytona 500 in a rusted-out minivan. Item 6 combines technology and education. I group them because, for me, they are the same thing. An exoskeleton for the mind. Most people buy the new iPhone for status. To put it on the table at Starbucks, cameras facing up. That is a liability. I buy tech to eliminate friction. Friction is the enemy. A slow laptop is friction. Bad audio is friction. Every second of lag, every extra click steals your focus. My best tech purchase isn't a phone. It's high-end, noise-canceling headphones. When I put them on in a noisy office or a plane, I press mute on the world. The hum vanishes. It's just me and my thoughts. It is a portable sanctuary. In an attention economy, the ability to turn off the sound is a superpower. Second is an e-reader, a Kindle. I carry the Library of Alexandria in my jacket pocket, and this leads to the most important part. The content. Education. I'm an investment banker. I understand risk. Stocks can crash, real estate bubbles burst, companies go bankrupt. The only asset with infinite ROI and zero risk of inflation is what you upload into your own brain. I spend an obscene amount of money on courses, masterminds, and coaching. If I see a book that solves a specific problem I have, I buy it without looking at the price tag. Even if I find just one good idea in 300 pages, that idea can pay for the book 1,000 times over. Think about it this way. If tomorrow I lose everything, my money, my apartment, my job, my suits, if you drop me naked in the middle of a strange city, I will be fine. Because my skills, sales, analysis, negotiation, are still with me. They cannot be confiscated. They cannot be taxed. Education is the only real insurance policy in a recession. So, we built the perfect system. We have a plan, time, energy, and tools. We became efficiency machines. But like anyone, I have nights where I stare at the ceiling and think, am I living the right life? What if I chose differently? What if I didn't become a banker? What if I moved to a cabin in the woods? These questions are poison. And I found the antidote in a book. Item 7 is a book, just one book that sits on my shelf facing out, as a reminder. It's called The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I bought it randomly at an airport during a delay, and that $15 purchase saved me years of therapy. We all carry a heavy backpack. Inside are our what-ifs. What if I hadn't broken up with her? What if I studied art instead of finance? What if I bought Bitcoin in 2011? In finance, we call this opportunity cost. In life, we call it regret. And it is the most toxic emotion available to humans. We look at our real life, with the mortgage, the traffic, the fatigue, and compare it to a fantasy where we are rock stars or billionaires. Of course, reality loses. The plot is simple. A woman named Nora decides to end her life, but instead of the void, she lands in a library. Infinite shelves. Each book is a variation of her life where she made a different choice. In one life, she's an Olympic swimmer. In another, a rock star. In another, a quiet wife. She gets to try them all. Reading this, I saw myself. I often envied the other Mike, the one surfing in Bali, totally happy. I was jealous of a ghost, but the book hits you with a brutal truth. Nora tries the perfect lives and realizes there is pain there too, just different pain. The rock star life has loneliness. The Olympian life has physical agony and pressure. We don't suffer because we chose the wrong path. We suffer from the hallucination that a perfect, pain-free path existed. This book taught me the concept of sufficiency. We cannot live every life. By choosing one thing, we inevitably kill the others. By becoming a banker, I kill the artist. By becoming a father, I kill the nomad. And that's okay. That is the price of admission to reality. After this book, I stopped looking back. I accepted that this version of me is the only one that matters. The weight of regret dropped off my shoulders. But this creates a paradox. If there are no other lives and we only have this one short run, how do we ensure it doesn't turn into a gray blur? The answer isn't in things. The answer is in what I spend my bonuses on. Item 8. The most expensive and critical line item in my budget. Not real estate, not watches, not cars, experiences. In investing, there's a concept called depreciation. It's the loss of value over time. You buy a new iPhone for $1,200. The moment you peel the plastic off the box, it loses 30% of its value. In 3 years, it's e-waste in a drawer. The value chart always goes down. But there is one asset class where the chart goes up: your experiences. Bill Perkins calls this memory dividends. Imagine you spend that same $200 not on a phone, but on a trip, hiking in Patagonia or skiing in the Alps. You were cold, you were tired, maybe you got lost. At that moment, it cost you money and comfort. But what happens next? You come back to the office and you remember the trip. You smile. That's your first dividend payout. A year later, you tell the story at a dinner party. You relive it. Another payout. 20 years from now, you tell your grandkids, memories don't depreciate. In fact, our brains polish them, removing the bad parts, the mosquitoes, the delayed flights, and leaving only the gold. The value of that asset compounds. I know guys with massive houses filled with expensive stuff, but when you sit down with them, their eyes are empty. They have nothing to talk about except renovations or car leases. Their life is rich in textures, but poor in plot. And I know people renting studio apartments who have backpacked across the world. They shine. They have a library of adventures in their heads. In the end, we are not what we own. We are the sum of what we have done. When you are on your deathbed, and that day is coming for all of us, nobody is going to ask to see your bank statement. Your life will flash before your eyes, and it's up to you what's on that film. Endless spreadsheets, gray office walls, or sunrises in the mountains, the fear of that first skydive, and the laughter of friends. I decided to convert money into life as early as possible, because you can always make more money. But time and health? Those are non-renewable resources. So we assembled the puzzle: a journal, a whiteboard, outsourcing, nutrition, tech, education, the right book, and experiences. 8 elements. But what's the bottom line? Let's wrap this up. I showed you 8 purchases. But if you look closely, I wasn't buying things. I was buying freedom. The journal is freedom from mental noise. The whiteboard is freedom from chaos. Outsourcing is freedom from drudgery. Nutrition is freedom from biological crashes. Tech is freedom from friction. Education is freedom from the fear of poverty. The book is freedom from regret. And experiences, that's what all this freedom is for. Most people view productivity as a way to work more, to build more spreadsheets, send more emails, make more money. That is a trap. That is the express lane to burnout and a heart attack at 45. Real productivity is about working less but better, to clear space for life. Don't try to buy all this tomorrow. This isn't a shopping list. It's an architecture I built over years. Start small. Buy a $5 notebook or hire a cleaner once a month. Taste that liberated time. And don't you dare waste it on social media. Spend it on yourself. We live in a world that is constantly trying to sell us something to fill the void. But the paradox is that a full life requires removing the excess, not adding more junk. You need to optimize the processes so that the things that actually matter can shine through. I'm Mike. I'm still a banker. I still like money. But now I know the real exchange rate, and I no longer accept bad deals. Invest in your system. Invest in your head. Invest in your memories. Because when the market crashes, when the dollar dips, and when the things turn to dust, you will be the only asset remains. Protect that asset. Thanks for spending this time with me. I'll see you in the next one.